I welcome all of you once again to the webinar lecture on the topic Striking a Balance Between IQ and EQ. I'm Dr. Nitya. I'm an associate professor at Jindal School of Psychology and Counseling. I'm specialized in psychoanalysis and I'm a practicing psychotherapist. So today it's a special day because we are trying to explore the relationship between IQ and EQ, which is intelligence quotient and emotional quotient. And in the history of psychology, these two constructs have played a very, very significant role. And by 1990s, there has been a new discourse about the centrality of emotion that shapes human success, happiness, and potential. So I'm once again happy to invite you all. We have around 50 members with us. So let's begin. I would like to invite our speaker for today, who is Dr. Smriti Pathak. So, Dr. Smriti, a heartily welcome to you. Allow me to introduce you. So, Dr. Smriti Pathak is a dedicated faculty member in the field of psychology, specializing in decision making, emotion, and mental health. With a strong academic background and extensive research experience, Dr. Pathak has made research contributions to the understanding of how emotion influences decision-making process. Her doctoral research focused on investigating the role of emotion, working memory, and decision style in decision making. Through her research, she has shed light on the intricate relationship between emotions and the application of decision rules. So, we'll start with this very interesting topic about striking a balance, or are we more inclined towards IQ or EQ, the cognition or the emotion, or is it a possibility to strike a balance? So, I'm sure everyone here is excited to know. So, I call upon and warmly invite Dr. Pathak. A very warm welcome to you. Over to you. Please begin with the lecture.
Hi, Nitya. Thank you so much, Professor Nitya. Hello and welcome everyone. I can see you are joining from different places. Uh, Professor Nitya has already introduced me, and I began my career. I was trained as a clinical psychologist. Then I shifted to academia. I worked on decision making, and in between the shifting from the mental health setup, then pure academia, I realized then uh, rather than diagnosing what is going wrong, I am now much more interested that what is going in a very positive way with human being, what make us wiser. So I'm now much more interested in the area of wisdom, which is closely related with emotional intelligence. My doctoral thesis was also focused on the role of emotion in decision making. So, thankfully, when we talk about emotional intelligence, we requires fewer case notes and more self-awareness. So, I'll begin my talk with simple tale. Storytelling is a nicer way to start a talk or conversation, right? So imagine, and I would request the person who is taking responsibility of the slides, we can go on one by one. Yeah. So you can imagine a scenario of a busy corporate office, and I'm talking about two employees, Leo and David. So, Leo is someone who is extremely sharp, talented, very good at his work, technically driven, and his presentations, his work is very data driven and precise. And everyone can acknowledge that his intelligence, he's a very intelligent person and very competent in his task. But there's one challenge. Leo had a challenge when he's working in collaborative environment. He is not the person who can take different opinions, who can handle workplace stress very well. So this is one drawback. Now coming back to another person, David. David is someone, next slide please. David is someone who is not necessarily the top performer in the organization, but he is very good with managing people. So if someone is feeling overwhelmed, he would listen patiently, he will understand the workplace dynamic, He will stay very composed under pressure. So now I just talked about two different people. Now we just imagine if there is a scenario when there is a very important client setup, or there is a one very important proposal is going on. What do you think? Who is going to better perform in this situation, Leo or David? What is your suggestion? What do you think? Who is going to perform well in this situation? Uh, Whatever is your opinion. Okay, David, I can see some of you agree that David may perform better because he is able to handle people. Oh, okay, nice, nice. Okay. Most of you seems to agree that a person with calm and composed demeanor has much more probability to handle the situation because he can understand workplace dynamic. Okay, right, mixture of both. Yeah, yeah. I'm happy to see this answer. So we can move to another slides. Yeah. So the answer is in next slide. Actually, uh, both. Yeah, you're right. Mixture of both, but only when they work together. So Leo can brought the brain, but David can brought the emotional glue. This is an imaginary story and it shows something very powerful that intelligence might get you high marks or excellence at work, but emotional intelligence is something which will help you to thrive in life. Now, in this presentation, we are going to discuss the concept of IQ, EQ, the intelligence question, emotion question. I'll prefer to talk briefly about the theoretical understanding because once we have the theoretical understanding of particular concept, it is easy to have a scientific observation when we see the real life application or example. Next slide, please. So we will talk about understanding EQ, IQ now, particularly role of intelligence in life, career, and decision making because we all agree, right, that these are the major areas in our life where we need to use our intelligence and emotional intelligence. So, role of IQ and EQ in life, career, and decision making. How we can strike the right balance. I'll also like to talk about examples from real life situations, some real figure in history and society, contemporary society also, where we can relate that this person has emotional intelligence. Then we will talk about real world application, practical way to strengthen your emotional intelligence. And lastly, I would like to highlight, because we all are a student of psychology, how psychology as a subject give us the powering potential to be a wiser man, wiser human being, or a person with more emotional intelligence, or it make us able to strike the right balance between EQ and IQ. Yeah. So next slide, please. As I said, I always prefer to talk. I always prefer to start in theoretical way because once you understand the theory, it is easy to have a scientific observation and it is easy to apply that knowledge in real life situation. So intelligence question is something which measures logical reasoning, problem solving, mathematical skill, and verbal intelligence. So, and we can assess intelligence through some standardized exams, psychological test also. So, high IQ helps you to excel in academics or to process complex ideas, situation, helps in decision making. You can think critically and logically if you have an above average or average level of intelligence. But as we initiated our discussion, IQ is IQ alone is not enough. You need EQ also, emotional intelligence. Next slide, please. So when I talk about the IQ, it's a total score. It is derived from a set of standardized tests. For example, BKT, Binet test, Stanford Binet test. There are some standard tests which assess human intelligence. Next slide. So this gentleman, Alfred Binet, in early 90s, he was responsible who created the first intelligent test in the term of we know them today. But when we talk about the standard definition of intelligence, David Wechsler was the person who provided the first definition. So the global capacity of a person to act purposefully, to think rationally, and to deal effectively with his environment. This is intelligence. Next slide, please. Now, after understanding what is IQ, we have to understand what is EQ. So your ability to understand or manage your own emotions, the empathy you have with others, for others, how wisely you can handle relationships, how much you are able to stay calm and focused in tough situation. So as you can clearly see, high EQ will help you to communicate better, build strong friendship and teams. You can better handle stress and failure, and you can become a good leader. We will talk about specific personalities in our history in society. They are known as a good leader because of their high EQ. Next slide, please. So, the famous psychologist Daniel Goleman actually, in his book also, he talked about that why EQ is very important. In leadership situation, EQ is something which is more important than IQ. Next slide. So, Daniel Goleman, in his famous book, Emotional Intelligence, I must say, I must prefer all of you to read this book. He said that emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, manage one's own emotion, and influence the emotion of others as well. And he was talking about five key components: self awareness, self regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. In further this lecture, you will see repeatedly I'll talk about my whole conversation will be lingering around these five key components and how we can use these five key components in life, career, decision making, as a student of psychology, as a human being as well. Next slide, please. So I was talking about this five component of emotional intelligence. So your social skills, how you are able to create or maintain healthy relationships, how much knowledge you have about your own thought, feeling, emotion, or motivation, that is your self awareness. Now, after awareness, how much you are able to regulate your emotions. This is also important. This is self regulation. How much capacity you have to appreciate, understand another's perspective. This is empathy. And how much ability you have to make decision and responsible choices and accept their outcome. So these are five components of emotional intelligence. Now, next slide, please. Okay, as I said, I believe in theory. So just to give you a glimpse of how different IQ with EQ. So if you see, IQ is something which measures your cognitive ability. EQ is something which measures your emotional intelligence. So here in IQ, the focus is on your logical thinking, your analytical thinking. In EQ, the focus is more on your self-awareness, empathy, and emotional control. We can test or we can measure IQ with the help of some standardized IQ test. EQ, on the other hand, we can have some observation, behavioral assessment, and self reports. For example, if you have a high IQ, you can solve a complicated mathematical problem quickly. If you have a high EQ, you can calm down a friend during an argument, or maybe you are very calm and composed during an argument. So, IQ is a smart mind, EQ is a wise heart. So, uh, But as I was telling about it, striking a balance is very important. Remember the example of Leo and David. So when IQ is used with EQ, it is very much it provide a very balanced and real world success. And in a similar way, when EQ, emotional intelligence, is balanced with IQ, it provide a balanced or real world success. Next slide, please. So, as we discussed, IQ is something very important in performance and cognitive development. When we talk about cognitive functions or cognitive foundations, IQ helps us in reasoning, abstract thinking, problem solving ability. It is a very strong predictor of your academic achievement to facilitate faster information processing. Now, next slide, please. Career outcome. If you have high IQ, it is positively correlated with performance in complex professions. So, for example, even teaching, I believe that teaching is also a profession which requires complex decision making, analytical reasoning also. And I will further discuss that how it is very important to be emotionally intelligent when you are an educator or teacher, especially in this era. Supports analytical, technical, and research based roles and associated with learning adaptability in dynamic environment. So that is how IQ intelligence plays a very important role in your career. Now, next slide, please. In decision making process, as I said, IQ is something which reflects your logical reasoning or analytical problem solving. So it will enhance your ability to logically evaluate the alternative options you have in process of decision making. It will also improve risk assessment and cost benefit analysis. It will also helps you to plan in a long term way. So, as I mentioned, my doctoral thesis was on decision making, and we cannot deny the role of cognitive foundation, the role of IQ in decision making process. Then only you are able to improve your risk assessment and cost benefit analysis. Next slide. Yeah. So far, we have discussed a role of IQ in career, life, and decision making. So, high IQ helps you to understand better, analyze faster, and perform well in a structured learning system. Remember, structured learning system. Okay. Now, coming back to EQ, we will discuss about the EQ and its role in life, career, and decision making. Let's slide, please. Yeah. So, as we discussed, EQ is something it's very crucial. It helps us to manage emotions, build relationships, and cope with stress. So, you can imagine in life, when you require so much emotional regulation and self awareness, it will help to strengthen your interpersonal relationship, enhance empathy and social sensitivity, and overall, it will support psychological well being and resilience. This is very clear how emotional intelligence is playing a crucial role in life. Now, moving to career. Next slide, please. Imagine when you're talking about David, right? So, if you remember the example of David from the initial story, having a high emotional intelligence helps you to understand your team. It will improve teamwork and collaboration. It will strengthen leadership and conflict resolution skills. If you have a high IQ, if you are able to use your emotions wisely, you are better able to adapt with your workplace. You are better able to adapt with the diversity at your workplace. And it also contribute to job satisfaction and professional growth. Now, coming to decision making. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, again, in decision making, EQ also help us to understand when we are choosing among the alternative options, which option is going to give us not benefit not only in terms of cognition but also in terms of emotion. So high EQ help us to stay mentally healthy, create positive learning environment, and deal with real life pressure. I don't know how much of you will agree why I have my favorite friends picture here. uh, if you remember, all the character had something unique about them. Rachel was a bit self-centered. Joey was all about the food. Phoebe was odd, but the one thing we realized, even with having all the positive and negative aspect of the personality, they were able to maintain their interpersonal relationship. They were together always in ups and downs of the life. So I thought it is a good example of how people handle their interpersonal relationship, and this reflect how emotionally intelligent they are. Next slide, please. Okay, so striking the balance. If IQ is your engine in your learning process, EQ is something is steering wheel and fuel. So success in life, it's important that IQ should be there for learning and EQ should be there for living. High IQ can determine how quickly you can learn. High EQ, emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, will help you to apply that learning in real life situation. Always remember, it's not necessary. Maybe you can learn quickly, but not necessarily whatever you will learn, you will be able to apply in your real life. Then there you have to have the emotional intelligence, the EQ. Next slide, please. So IQ solves the problem, win debates, plan projects, scores an exam, and EQ understand people's feelings about the problem, build relationships, keep the team motivated, and perform well in interviews. Next slide, please. Now, as I was telling you, we will talk about some examples from real life. So I'm sure you all are familiar with these two gentlemen. Albert Einstein was a brilliant person, no doubt, but he was also known for being very humble and empathetic. And he always accepted that imagination is something which is more powerful than knowledge. Then we know a very good example of high EQ in leadership, Nelson Mandela. He was known for his calmness under pressure, classic EQ trait. Like, next slide, please. How many of you are familiar with this face? I'm curious. She is a political figure. Anyone from New Zealand in our group? So, if you are not familiar with her, she is the 14th Prime Minister of New Zealand, not serving as a Prime Minister right now. If I'm correct, her name is Jessica Ardern. I can see the chat box. If yeah, thank you so much, Jacinda Ardern. Yeah. So I'm sure you're aware why she was praised a lot. So during the 2019 mass shooting, how she handled the situation and how she handled the government policy in COVID 19 in 2020, she was largely appreciated because of her leadership qualities. Okay, next slide, please. We will discuss about her leadership ability or leadership qualities that will help to understand the emotional intelligence. So, her main motto was you can be strong and you can be kind, and that was very much reflected in her leadership style. Next slide, please. Just I'm just trying to present this as a case study. So, why she is known for her high IQ? I was talking about the 2019 Moscow shooting. Now we will see how EQ traits, empathy, self awareness, self regulation, motivation, social skill were so much visible in her leadership style. So she wore a hijab while meeting grieving people and she said, they are us. So she did not just offer words, she connected emotionally. She was also recognized as a very self aware political figure. She was very much ready to admit her mistakes and showing humility in public address. She was also known for her self regulation, staying composed under pressure during crises like COVID 19, choosing calm and clear communication. She was also someone who advocated kindness and well being as a core political value, and her social skills were admirable. She built trust across political lines and communities with compassionate leadership and clear messaging. This is just one example of one person how her leadership style particularly reflected high emotional intelligence. Next slide, please. So, when we talk about real world application of EQ, we see that in leadership and teamwork, high emotional intelligence help us to enhance collaboration, trust building, and motivation within diverse group. It also helps in conflict resolution because it promotes constructive dialogue. It reduces the communication or communication level misunderstanding in interpersonal level. It improves our adaptability, stress tolerance, which is very much important for workplace effectiveness. It also increase our decision making ability, specific under situation which involves so much pressure. It strengthens empathy, communication, emotional bonding, and mental well-being. So these are the real world application of emotional intelligence. Next slide, please. How we can practically strengthen emotional intelligence? These all lie in the all component 5 key we talked about. We have to develop self awareness. How we can do this? Regularly reflect on your emotional triggers and behavioral response. So I can share one example if it's okay with the audience. If I can reflect that I am easily triggered by high noise or loud voice, it will help me to regulate my behavior next time when I'm again going to face loud noise. Use mindfulness, deep breathing, or cognitive framing technique to practice emotional regulation. Maybe later we can talk about cognitive reframing technique also in question answer session. Enhance active listening. Focus fully on others when they are talking, okay, without interrupting or premature judging. Also, we need to seek constructive feedback. Understand how others perceive your emotional response. Sometimes we respond in a very emotional way, but we lack the ability to understand how people are perceiving us. So it is very important to have constructive feedback. We have to cultivate empathy, try to understand situation from others perspective also. And the another thing, how we can strengthen our emotional intelligence, we need to build our social skill. We need to practice assertive communication, healthy boundary setting also. And very important thing, we have to be engaged in reflective journaling, track your emotional pattern and growth over time. So as I just said, the first thing, develop your self-awareness. Once you are able to reflect on your emotional triggers, you can be engaged in reflective journaling also. You can track your emotional pattern and growth over time. Next slide. Now I'll talk some specific activities to build emotional intelligence. So emotions check-ins, daily or weekly reflection of how you are feeling and why. Just in previous slide I was talking about the same thing, reflective journaling also. So you can daily reflect, I'm feeling this and why I'm feeling this. Initially, maybe you're not able to establish the link, but gradually you will see that you are able to establish the link between how you are feeling and why you are feeling. And this will be very helpful to understand your responses and to be better prepared when again you are facing the triggering situation. Perspective taking. Take a real situation and ask, how would the other person feel? It's very important to understand multiple perspective, others' perspective. Mindfulness moments, 2 minute deep breathing or reflection before responding or taking decisions is very important. I think few days before I have heard about the 777 rules in parenting. So when you're facing a difficult situation with your toddler or child, uh, hold your response for 7 seconds, take a deep breath for 7 seconds, and then respond after 7 seconds. So these mindfulness moments are very important. Okay, now next slide, please. So again, so much theory. How we can balance IQ and EQ? Listen more than you speak, because empathy is something which grows in silence. When we understand ourselves and when we understand others, we are going to be more emotionally intelligent person, and this is possible when you listen to others. Reflect, don't react. Always take a pause before you respond emotionally. I do not say that emotions are not healthy. Every emotion is healthy, even negative emotions are very healthy, but how you are going to respond with that emotion, that is a different thing. So you have to have the feeling. You are allowed to have the feeling, you are allowed to have every kind of emotion, but how you are going to act on the emotion, there is something you need to reflect, not react. Practice gratitude. I'm also interested in neuropsychology and physiology, and there are certain brain parts which shows increased activation during PET scan and fMRI when you are involved in gratitude. When you practice gratitude in your daily life, especially amygdala or hippocampus, challenge your brain. This is a tips to balance between IQ and EQ. You need to challenge your brain, do puzzles, read books, and solve real world problems. Your brain needs stimulation. Your brain need to understand different situation. There's a concept of neuroplasticity. When we see different situation, when we try to understand and adapt with different situation, complex problems, puzzles, even listening to others, our brain wiring change, and they create new cells, new learning. That is why some people are able to learn new skills even after the age of 40s, 50s, because of the concept of neuroplasticity. So always challenge your brain. Do not sit idle. Do something which can stimulate and create neuroplasticity at your cellular level. Next slide, please. Okay, so your intelligence is something which can open the door of lots of possibility. But emotion is something which will decide that you are able to utilize these possibilities in your life. So the real success formula is IQ plus EQ. This will help you to thrive in school, career, and life, in decision making and everything. So IQ maybe help you to get a job, but EQ will help you to stay there, to build a collaborative relationship at your workplace, to feel the job satisfaction, a positive feeling at your workplace. Not at workplace only, in your life also. Next slide, please. No. So, very important thing. As I said, we all are a student of psychology. So, how a psychology degree prepare you or make you more confident and future ready individuals? Uh, I'm sure you have gone, some of you may be already aware or going through of some psychological concepts, psychological theories. This helps to understand yourself. It creates a deep self awareness. It helps to understand thoughts, emotions, behavior. It also helps to have a regulation, a regulatory procedure on your emotion, to build personal clarity and confidence. I'll give you one simple example. There is a Maslow's hierarchy need theory. So when in my undergrad level, I first came to know about this theory. In this theory, if you are not aware, how many of you are aware of or heard of Maslow's hierarchy theory, hierarchy of need theory? How many of you? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Rebecca. So great, great. I'll give you one very simple example. So when I in my UG level, I came to know about this theory. If you remember in this pyramid, the basic level need is hunger, thirst, and sex. First time I realized why people who are deprived of basic needs, for example, food, or living in a very people from marginalized community and people who don't have the accessibility of basic need in life, why they are much more prone to crime. Just very simple thing. If you are not able to fulfill your basic need, you will not be able to develop the self awareness or the desire for another higher level need. For example, to achieve a degree in psychology, to do a doctorate in psychology. How is it possible when you're hungry, when you're not even fed properly? Very simple understanding. So this is one example how psychology helps you to understand yourself and your surrounding, the psyche, the reason of their behavior. Next slide, please. It also helps. Psychology also helps to um, develop strong communication skill. I was just talking about active listening, empathy, and perspective taking, clear, impactful expressions. When we, again, I'm giving you another example from psychology. When we read about different theories of personalities, different theories of communication, attention, we understand that what is important for a strong communication skill, why active listening is important, and why people communicate in different way because of their personality traits. Critical thinking and analysis, evidence based reasoning, research and data interpretation, problem solving abilities. These are all things you do when you are pursuing your psychology degree. You are following some statistical comparison, you are following a paper in statistics, you are doing research, data interpretation. You are talking about so many theories which are evidence based, based on some data, and you're using your problem solving ability. This helps you to develop critical thinking analysis, in which is very important part of your IQ and EQ as well. Next slide, please. Being a student of psychology, there's a high possibility that you understand what emotional intelligence is. You are able to manage or understand your stress cue. You are also much more able to use the skill for the conflict resolution. You have the strong interpersonal relationships. Now, pursuing a degree in psychology or being a student of psychology, you also have higher ability to understand human change and growth. You have the coping strategies for uncertainty and growth mindset for development. Imagine when you understand the evolutionary psychology, when you understand developmental psychology, when you understand how a person develops particular traits, particular personality, the role of family, parents, friends, society, it helps you to understand your change and growth. It also helps you understand that how you're going to behave in particular uncertain situation, and it helps to develop a growth mindset. Next slide, please. Now, real world application. Psychology as a subject also helps to acquire ability to navigate efficiently in workplace, in teamwork. It helps to have better leadership qualities and understanding diverse culture and behavior. Remember, we are talking about different dynamics, different personality theory, different evolutionary theory. Even we read so much about brain and behavior. What is the role of brain in our behavior, in our response to situation? All this helps in when you understand and we try to understand situation in real world scenario. Next slide, please. Okay. So we were talking about self awareness a lot, and I was talking about IQ, EQ, how why striking balance is important. Do you know this lady? How many of you are aware of this face? And she became very famous in 2021, I guess. Yes. So she's a famous athlete, and she was, yeah, great, Simone Biles. Um, I admire her, and most of us should admire her. She took a conscious break in Tokyo. Basically, she was about to participate in Olympic 2020, which was to be held in 2021 because of COVID and all. She consciously withdrew from many events because she understood that she was mentally not able to sustain the activities. Basically, she was facing a problem twisties, if you know. It is a partial disability or unawareness of your somatosensory perception. So she was not able to locate her body orientation in air, which is very important when you are athletic, when you are involved in jumping and all. And this was all because of her mental health condition, and she consciously withdrew from many events, citing the mental health reason. But this is self awareness I was talking about. Remember, I was telling you all emotions are unique and necessary and have some survival value. We cannot deny that I'm not hurt, I'm not anxious. How we are going to react on this situation is very important. She paved a way that when athletics, when people from sports started talking about the mental health issues which people are facing in elite support, elite class or elite sports activity also. She was one good example how self-awareness helps in strengthening emotional intelligence, not at only individual level, at society level also. I think this is it from my side. I would be very happy. I'm very happy to see your responses in chat box, and I'll be very happy if we can reflect together more. If you have any query, please. So this is it from my side. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Spriti, for this really important and very valuable lecture about the discussion of how both, our cognition and emotion is so very critically important. So I would like to open the floor for discussion here. So anyone here, we have around 60 participants. Please feel free to write your thoughts, whatever you want to share. It'll be great if we can get an insight into your heart and mind. Yeah. So, all right. So we have certain queries about the admission. So I'm sure our team will take care of that. So Dr. Spriti, I would just like to initiate a discussion, and if anyone would like to respond to, are you in touch with your feeling right now? How are you feeling? Because at times I find it very difficult to, identify and describe the emotions. We might be feeling so many things at the same time, right? So we also have a question from Rebecca. She's saying, is there a link between autism is there a link between autism and high IQ or low EQ? Yeah. Uh, Professor Smriti, you can just unmute yourself.
Oh, nice question, and it reflects that we are actually in process of reflection. I would like to, yeah. So, coincidentally, I am much more interested in area of autism spectrum disorder also. If you see the scientific evidence, actually, autism is not something which indicates below average or low average IQ. IQ and autism are two entirely different things. In simple word, I can say tell you a person with autism or a person on autism spectrum disorder, they have all the emotions. The only thing differ is how they express the emotion. So scientifically, we cannot say that there is a link between high IQ or low EQ. No. The only way why a person with autism is different, the way they express. And remember, I was talking about brain and behavior. Brain become very important. What happens at the level of conception actually, we all have a wiring system in our brain, and if we claim that we are neurotypical, so for example, if I'm a neurotypical person and someone from audience, Matthew, or anyone, they are a neurotypical person, we have the same wiring. But a person who is not neurotypical, a person with autism, they have the change in their wiring system. So maybe the wire goes to prefrontal cortex to amygdala is not going directly, going more indirectly. So the only thing is their expression is different. But they have IQ, they have average IQ, maybe have above average IQ, maybe high IQ, and they have the emotional intelligence. Only the expression is the problem. I hope I understood the question and answer.
No, that was indeed very well explained that the forms of emotions, the quotient, the intelligence of the emotion and the cognition can have so many forms to it. Yes, I mean, we can't even, it's beyond our capacity to contain and to limit it. So that was really, thank you so much for responding to that. We have other questions. So, just for the information, we have around 5 to 7 minutes, so we can use this time for discussion. Another question is from Ganesha. She's saying that, she gets triggered and I can't control. Instead, I go in a state of panic attack. So, how can I control this situation or overcome this situation which is disturbing my daily life? So she knows that she's saying, I know something is triggering me and I can't control it. Thank you so much, Ganesha, for sharing that, uh, you know, the question with all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, good question. And I really understand. Even when I talk about emotional intelligence, sometimes we do understand that something is triggering us, but we don't know the real cause. So the first thing I'll tell you, you remember I was talking about reflective journaling. It helps a lot. Start thinking about what happens before. Start thinking about your surrounding. It will help you to understand what is triggering, but it's a long journey. It's a long journey. My suggestion, if you are in acute stress, you should always feel free to seek help of mental health professionals, because they are trained to help you to seek the answers. Remember, you have the answer, you just don't know the way to reach to the answer. So, yeah, reflective journaling is very important. To connect with mental health professionals are very important. And self awareness is the key. Once you understand, gradually you will learn how to control it. So, self awareness is very important.
Thank you. Dr. Smriti, we have another question for you. On a global scale, in our collective discourse, does EQ play any role in stopping wars? Is it the absence of EQ which is responsible for the wars happening right now across regions? Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I don't know somehow if I can pitch in. You mentioned Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
I was also thinking he was in prison for some 27 years. And the kind of emotional resilience and capacity it must have taken him to create prison into this space of empowerment and then to take it outside by stopping wars, apartheid, and so many things that were happening. So I'm sure it has a very, very significant component. But please, yes, over to you and add on. Yeah.
Uh, nice question. And that there I would like to pitch in. When we talk about psychology, we often talk about individual psychology. Actually, psychology should be a study of human behavior at cultural level also. Yeah, this is a very relevant question. That is why when we talk about the role of EQ, that is why I mentioned Nelson Mandela and Jacinda Ardern, because they are a good example of high emotional intelligence leadership style. Yes, war reflects the low EQ. War reflects on a broader level. Failing, this is reflection of failure to all of us, that we are failing at collaboration, maintaining interpersonal relationship. But we should not forget that there is something political policy also. Some war are triggered or initiated for some other gain, some economic gain and political gain. So, yeah, this is a tricky thing. We cannot deny the absence of emotional intelligence, but we have to understand that there's much more political gain and economical gain from these wars also. Yes.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much, Khan Adib, for raising that question. I think it's something which is concerning everyone in
Yes.
the field of humanities, and hence we are thinking about it. So, another practical question, and the lecture was so much about really understanding and practicing it almost on an everyday basis, that how to be more aware. So, Sadia is asking, what are some ways you journal to record your emotion? I myself find it a bit hard to stay consistent. Yeah, consistency can be a challenge.
Yeah. Um, I think even Professor Nitya, she is trained in psychoanalysis. I know reflection is the main thing in psychoanalysis. She can also help. I would suggest Sadhya, very simple thing. Whenever you feel emotional or triggered, just uh, take a paper and start writing or typing. Start writing whatever comes to your mind. Whatever comes to your mind, typing or writing, whatever works. This is the one way how you can capture your raw emotion. There is, you will always get something in your writing. You will always get something when you are on a raw level expressing your emotion. This is the one way of recording your emotions. Gradually, in therapies, what we do, gradually we provide a framework also. So, when this happened, why this happened, how much duration of this happened, what was the outcome of this emotion. But on for a beginner, I'll suggest start writing then and there. What are you feeling? It will help. It is a good form of catharsis also. And once you see this page later or this typing later, you will understand the emotions going on. This is the one good way of recording thoughts and emotions.
Yes. Um, can we can take another one last question. So, Professor Smriti, there's one suggestion that someone has asked for to get an idea around the books, if they can have some information on YouTube. And the second question and the last question we can uh, take up. There are many questions, so I'm sorry, in the interest of time, we won't be able to address. But just last question, like, would be, I think both are important. One is about emotional regulation, where Bruno is saying, where is it? I have lost it. Just give me a second. So I found the presentation very good. One point that popped up during the presentation was how the emotional regulation part of the EQ can, in the workplace, work as a way of leaving all the responsibility, let's say a bad relationship with a manager, worker, even if the worker is being abused. I don't know if this question is like, Bruno, would you like to elaborate? Yeah. And so finally,
Book.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. I really like to mention one book, and when Professor Nitya was talking about Nelson Mandela and he was in prison, I remember this book. So, to answer the first question, if you want to understand emotional intelligence, read classic Daniel Goleman book, which was mentioned in my slide also. Emotional intelligence. Another book I will suggest to all of you, regardless of student of psychology or not, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. You will see how in a concentration camp a person can think about existence, spirituality, resilience. It's very important. If you want to understand, I I'm totally shifted to the area of wisdom, and I'm follower of Monica Ardent and other scholars. So if you want to understand emotional intelligence, you cannot deny the role of wisdom also. So Man's Search for Meaning and Daniel Goleman's book on emotional intelligence, a must read for all of you. Um,
All right. So thank you so much, Professor Smriti, for this really incredibly meaningful talk. And we really would like to extend our heart of gratitude to you for taking out time and sharing your useful insights with everyone. I'm sure each one of us here will be practicing it, in the and develop our capacity to balance it, knowing both are important. So, just on a quick note, I would also like to talk about this program which has been offered by Jindal School of Psychology and Counseling, affiliated with Jindal Global University in India. So, this program is a program on BSc in psychology, which is a blended degree, an undergrad degree, where we would cover all kinds of branches of psychology for as an undergraduate degree. The details have been shared. The deadline or the last date of application, you can apply till March, but it would be better, if you're interested, please reach out to all the information which is shared in the chat box. This is a specially curated program which will be offering you different insights in psychology, from cognitive psychology to educational to psychoanalysis to neurosciences, brain and behavior. So it's very, very comprehensive. So if that interests you, and if you enjoyed the lecture, and if you would like to understand the beauty and the complexity of human life, please feel free to reach out. So take good care of yourself. If you have any question, please feel free to write if you want any information about the course. And we would like to thank Coursera, and we would like to thank the Jindal School of Psychology Counseling for organizing this. And thank you to all the participants for reaching out from such diverse places. Thank you so very much. Have a great time. So the books again, I think Professor Smriti mentioned, was Man's Search for Meaning, which is by Viktor Frankl. Yeah, so Professor Smriti, if you can just type the name of the book on the chat box, I think everyone is eager to uh, find that information. So take good care, everyone. Bye bye.